Hello and welcome to today's Starseed Healing Circle. This year is really flying by at a pace, but what can we say and what can we do? We can just take it one day at a time. So, right, let's see. In today's session, we have a kinesiology session set up. So, whenever working with emotions and things like this, it's really handy if you have a pen and paper ready. You want to be able to brainstorm a little bit, take a few notes down, keep track of what's happening where and when, because for you, the deeper you can dig into this, the more you're going to receive from this healing session. Usually in a one-on-one kinesiology session, we discuss things. So before we actually do a correction, there's a little bit of a discussion going on. We dig in, we try and find what the issues are. Because we are working with a group and because I cannot individually chat to each of you to see what you are working with, it's up to you to pause the recording, to think about the emotion, to write down what the first thoughts are that come to mind, and to allow yourself that open, free, safe space to admit to yourself what the feelings are, what you experience, and don't worry, you can take the piece of paper and burn it afterwards. No one needs to see it or hear it or read it. It's actually quite a nice thing to do after a session like this, to take that piece of paper and burn it, because you give your body an action that says, let's release this stuff. I give permission to release this. Okay, so let's start with our tuning today. Oops. Right. We're tuning in with the Lightcode Activation for Solar Flares. The solar activity has been going on a little bit above average compared to other times in the solar time. So we are working with the Solar Flares one today. So just drop into your self, into your heart space. Perhaps close your eyes. Think about what it is that you would like to work with in this session. What would you like to release? What would you like to gain? What would you like to manifest? Where do you want to heal? And when you're ready, open your eyes and allow your eyes to trace the light code, or perhaps to just rest somewhere on the code. Keep your focus and your awareness on what it is that you would like to focus on in today's session. What's your goal? Okay, spend as much time here as you need. Pause the recording if you need to, and then we will continue. Okay, so let's have a look at our journey today. So our journey continues in Egypt. It's a short little one today. So let's have a look at our image. We are on the Nile cruise, and we are in a small section or small area. Probably not such a small area. This area is called Kom Ombo. And as you can see there on the side, there's a little temple there, and then there's some rock faces and stuff going off to the side. This is a small worker village from 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. And this is the quarries where they mined the stones. And these are actually where they mined the stones to build the Edfu temple. So we stopped here for a visit to that little temple over there, and in the rocks, if you look over to the left, just left of those boats, there's something that looks a little bit like a cave. Those are actually temples and little rooms that are built into the rock face, and that goes on for quite a while. So let's have a look at the rest of the images. And let's get my face out of the way. So this is inside that little temple. It really is a very small temple. We could only fit, we were a group of 20 and we could fit inside the temple, and the group that came behind us had to wait for us to leave first. So it's a very small space. But in the little alcoves, there are the statues of the families This could be the king at the time who was holding that space or the energy of this area. So the first one, there's just three. It's the mother, father, and daughter. But in the next alcove, this is all the women, so all the sisters coming together of this particular family. And you can't really see clearly the hieroglyphs above, but this is the sisters. There is some. This is one of the first times I saw this in the temple, where there's hieratic written on the walls. Hieratic is the image on the left, and hieratic was more of a sort of a handwritten, informal style of writing compared to the hieroglyphs that you'll see on the right-hand side image, which is normally what we would see. This was the one main wall. There is an alcove on to the right where the statue would have been of the local deity, and the space for offerings at the bottom. And we had some time here alone as a group where we could meditate a little bit and soak up the energy. As always, I had the wands of Horus with me. Sefer, my crystal skull, was with me, and obviously the pendulums and all my tools that I had with me the whole time. They were all coming here to soak up some of the energy as well. As we left the temple, we walked along the Nile bank, and the Nile was off to the left, and on to the right we have these false doors, and some of them you can see there's like a hole where someone dug in to try and find what was behind there. So behind there's like a little bit of a tunnel system. It's not very deep or crazy labyrinthy, but there is like a wall, or there is cabin or chambers behind that. I think that these may have been filled in afterwards, because I think initially the only access point was through these walls, and I'm not sure if these were used as tombs. I think they may have been, because there was an earthquake many years ago that cracked open the walls. I think I've got a photo of it on the next one. Yeah, you can see here that the statue in the right-hand image is actually split in half. And so you do have access to these tunnels from the side of the mountain, but that's only because of the earthquake. So initially you can see the rest of the spaces have been broken open to try and come into these spaces. So these were small tombs, probably for people who worked here in the quarry or something. But it was quite a peaceful energy. I did feel a little bit of sadness, because for me it's always sad just to see that these places have been forgotten and neglected, and that a space that was supposed to be a safe haven was broken open and for the world to see. This is in the quarries itself, and this image actually does not do the size of this justice at all. I was actually standing on almost like a sand heap on the side of the mountain. And I'm trying to see if I can give you a reference point. If you look at that big step on the right-hand side, I would not have been able to climb up onto that. It's way too high. If you look at that triangular rock in the middle, I would have been smaller than that rock. So this quarry is actually really, really big. The blocks off onto the left that looks like steps, I think if I had stepped on the top step, I would have been the size of maybe one of those blocks. So the first step is about 2 or 3 times my height. So this was quite a space. You'll see if we go to the next image. This is me standing on that same spot, taking a photo down of the people. So the quarry that I took the photo of is just off to the right over here, and that's where the other people are standing. So you can see that where they're standing against that big block, that's about the size of the step that we see on the left over here, that first step. So you can see that this is like you won't be able to get onto that. So this is the quarry. This is where the stones were mined, and what you'll find in many of the stones, and you can actually see it just off to the right. There's just to the right of the people. There's a flat rock with a black round circle in it. That round circle is actually a hole in the rock, and what they did was they made holes in the rocks in the side, and they would put a chain through it and then pull it or move it. That's according to the archaeologists and what they say. But you see these stone holes everywhere in the rock as you go along. This is just what it looks like from the Nile site. So where we were as we were going past the tombs, tombs would have been behind, and then this is what you see on the other side. So it's a really pretty site. It was very hot, and the sand was very, very fine. So we actually walked around barefoot for most of the part while we were over there. Okay, so that takes us through to our healing session for today. And we have a kinesiology session lined up for today. Okay, so remember, this is a group session. You have your own focus and goal. I'm going to keep asking you how an emotion relates to your goal. So remember that when we set this goal up, the focus for the session, that is what we're focusing on. We're putting that under the microscope lens, and that is all that exists. So all the other troubles, everything else in your life does not exist unless it comes in and it relates directly to your goal or your focus. The goal or the focus, I like to keep it short, sweet, and simple, like in a one sentence. So this is something that you may want to just pause again the recording and just change or set up. One short sentence that is present time, that is something that's attainable, something that you want to have, something that's not going to overwhelm you too much. We do want a little bit of overwhelm. We do want a little bit of a stress because we want to go like, I really want to get there, but I don't know how. And then you want to have it in a simple sentence, like we're starting with I am or I have. If it can also start in another way, but I am, I have sentences tend to be more powerful. I am is more powerful. So you need to be able to say that sentence quick, easy, and without thinking. So if you say, I am blessed in every aspect of my life, when it comes to health, healing, abundance, wealth, prosperity, work, and I love myself and all the people around me, and I have everything in the life that I ever wanted. That sentence is really long. If I'm going to ask you to repeat that sentence while doing eye rotations and tapping behind your ears, you're not going to be able to do that. So you want to be able to do something really short and simple. I love myself. I am safe. So whatever, anything that's a short sentence, just a few words. So if you can distill or summarize your focus and goal into one short sentence, that's amazing. If you have 3 or 4 things to work with, I'm going to suggest that you pick one and use only that one. You can always come back and do the same session or even one of the other sessions with another goal. Because if you do this session with like 3 times, 3 different goals, different things are going to come up for you. You're going to experience the session differently. So take the time to do that. The deeper you can feel, the deeper you can heal over here. Okay, let's get going. So we're going to do a few kinesiology tricks along the way. So I hope you've got your dancing shoes on. First of all, we want to really contain or keep in circuit what we're working with. So I want you to think of your goal. So your emotion here is hope, and in relation to emotional expression. So pause, write down what this means to you. Hope in relation to emotional expression in relation to your goal. What does that mean for you? The sabotage that sits on top of this or underneath it is I can take charge of my life, or I cannot take charge of my life. And so write that sentence down. I can, and in brackets, not take charge of my life. How does that relate to your goal? So again, pause the video here if you need to. And the emotion that sits on top of this is responsive in relation to turning point. So how does responsive fit in with I can take charge of my life, I cannot take charge of my life? Responsive is to be responsive, to respond to something. So taking charge of your life in relation to what? In relation to your goal. How are we not responding to the goal, or how are you responding to the goal? And where do we need that turning point? Pause. Make some notes here. Okay, so now we've got all of the information going, and hopefully you've got some notes, and hopefully you've got some feelings and sensations that you felt around each of those things. Now we're going to put it all into circuit. So this is where we need our legs. So think about your goal. Feet are together. Feet are together. Think about your goal. Once you've got it, take your feet apart. Sorry, I've got bumping the table over here. I'm getting all excited. Okay, so now feet are apart. Now you're going to think of hope and in relation to emotional expression, and you're going to open your jaw. Okay, then you're going to keep both of those open. So now I've got jaw open and you've got hips open. Then you're going to put your feet together and you can take your feet apart again. So I'm going to demonstrate. So I'm going to have feet together. It is goal. Think about it. Feet apart. Think about hope in relation to emotional expression. And then you can relax your jaw. So basically what I've done was, when I thought about hope, I opened the jaw. I put my feet together. I take the feet apart. Then you relax the jaw. If you're going to mess this up a little bit, it's okay. Don't panic. I'm putting it in circuit here as well. So we should be fine, but it's nice if you can do it on your side. Okay, then we're going to take the sentence, I cannot take charge of my life. So think about that one. I cannot take charge of my life. Relax the jaw. And our emotion was responsive and in relation to turning points. So think about that one, responsive. Close the jaw. Okay, and so we've just taken all of that piece of information, all of that information sitting in the hip joint at the moment. We're going to do one more thing, just with your head straight up. Look up, just with your eyes. Stretch your eyes as far as possible. Are you going around in circles? Hold that there, jaw open. Feet together, feet apart, and then relax the jaw. Okay, another one. Keep your one arm straight out. Take the other arm in front and give yourself a little bit of a bash on the hand. So like that. And then jaw. Feet together, feet apart. Okay, that's about handling the shocks of life. And then one last one. We're going to look up with our eyes and off to the right. And I think my video may be reversed. But anyway, eyes up and right, head stays forward. And this is about see yourself achieving your goals. So eyes up and right, see yourself achieving these goals. Open up jaw. Feet together, feet apart. Relax your eyes. Do not move your hips just yet. Okay, now we're going to put that into circuit. We're going to save that. So you can use your thumb and just rub here on your forehead straight up. 1, 2, 3. And then we're done. Now I can relax your legs. Okay, a little bit of a technical story happening over there. I normally do that for the client, but I think what I love about remote healing is that we get the client involved, and the more you can be involved, the deeper the healing that can take place here. So what we've done was we've taken all of the information, we put it all into circuit. This where we rubbed on top, this is called the glabella. There's a suture there. And so we are saving that information right there. And so this is like the same thing as putting our information on that microscope lens or glass plate. And now we're going to dig in and move in. I'm going to skip some of the back end stuff that you guys do not need to know about, like meridians and things like that. And we're going to go straight into our healing work. Okay, so now with all the information put in, we are going to do our correction. Let's see. Okay, so our first correction that comes up is switching. Now, switching is when we get out of alignment with what we are needing to do. On a physical level, we have our physical body and it has its different alignments and movements. So we can move forward and backwards in our space, we can move sideways in our space, and we can move up and down in our space. So on a physical level, when switching is out, you trip over your feet, you bump your toes on steps as you walk, you bump into walls as you walk, you're clumsy, you drop things. So it's just on a physical level, the manifestation is that you're clumsy, you bump around, and you don't quite move smoothly in your environment. On a mental emotional level, we can also be clumsy. On a mental emotional level, we can bump into our thoughts or bump into ideas or things like that. So switching slows us down, and we want to clear that. The emotion that comes up here for this correction is embarrassment, and it's in relation to ridicule. So you may want to pause the recording here and just make a note of what that would mean for you. Embarrassment in relation to ridicule. How does that relate to your goal? Okay, because whenever you're trying to reach your goal, if you're getting embarrassed about ridicule, then that's going to pull you away from the goal. So just make a note of that. And when this embarrassment comes up, this is when you start switching, and this is where things don't work well. So let's have a look at our correction. The correction is not too complicated. Okay, what you'll do is you'll have one hand on your belly, and that hand is going to stay there. The other hand is going to go onto the clavicle. I'm just going to quickly switch my video on. So you're going to use index finger and middle finger together and your thumb. So thumb is on the one side, index finger and middle finger is on the other side, and you're going to place those under your clavicle. So look for where those little round bones are at the tips of your clavicle, just down underneath from it into the soft spot. And we're going to just rub those points like you're just doing this. And the big thing here is you want to rub the skin. So you don't have to kill yourself for rubbing really hard. It's not a massage or anything like that. All we're doing is we're getting the skin to move. Keep thinking about embarrassment in relation to ridicule and in relation to your goal. So you rub, you've got one hand on the belly and the other hand rubbing. Now switch your hands around. You've got the other hand on the belly, and now you're rubbing with the other hand. Again, index finger, middle finger, and thumb together. Rub, 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 rub. If you are not quite on the spot, it's okay. The body is quite forgiving. It will get the idea. We are moving the skin. Really, really important. Keep thinking about embarrassment in relation to ridicule. Keep thinking about your goal. How does all of that relate? Just keep all of that going. Okay. Next, 2 points is going to be above and below the mouth. And you use index finger and middle finger above the mouth and thumb underneath. And you're going to have your fingers together like that. And we're going to rub side to side. And the big thing here is you want to have the skin move. So skin moving, hand on the belly, other hand on top and bottom of the lips. Think about embarrassment and ridicule. Keep rubbing. So keep doing that. And then we're going to switch around. Bump into my microphone. It's about moving the skin, so keep moving. Think about embarrassment and ridicule. And then finally, keep one hand in the belly. 2 fingers, index finger, middle finger, you're going to rub up and down on the sacrum, that triangular flat bone. And it's just about moving the skin. So moving the skin up and down on the sacrum. Think about embarrassment and ridicule. And then we're going to swap our hands around. So opposite hand to navel, opposite hand to up and down. Rub, 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 rub. Okay. Right. Coming back. So let's quickly just check embarrassment, ridicule, and switching electrical to B. So I'm just checking with my pendulum, good old pendulum. I've remembered today that I've had this one since 2005, 19 years old. Okay, that one is done. So switching, let's quickly just have a explanation of what's happening here. Those 2 points are about our sideways movement. This is kidney 27. This is about our up-down movement in space, and this is about forward-backwards movement in space. So you can do these 3 points at any time when you feel clumsy or you bump into things, even if you don't have a goal. Like if you find yourself clumsy, just do these points. You're going to rub your K27s, and you're going to rub your beginning and end points of, or both end points of the governing and central meridians, and then this is just the governing meridian. Okay, right, that one's out of the way. Next one, we are moving to our next correction. This is contralateral joints. So contralateral joints come up when, like if we look at something like your nose is out of joint, or you're not feeling in alignment again. So I think all of our corrections here are so far very much alignment based. Now, normally when this correction comes up, I will check with the person if they have any pain somewhere in the body. So if you have pain somewhere, especially if it's in the wrist area, or not wrist area, sorry, any joint area, so wrist, elbow, shoulder, knee, ankle, whatever. If you've got pain in that area, you're going to be using that pain spot. Okay. For the ones who do not have pain, I'm just going to check quickly what we're working with. I'm using pendulum. Okay, so what comes up on my side is the left ankle. So if you have no pain anywhere in the body, you will be using left ankle. So we will assume that the left ankle is the painful joint. Okay. So now with contralateral joints, we're looking at the opposite joint on the opposite end of the body. So if I've got the left ankle, it's not the right ankle. Well, we're first going to move to the right, which is the ankle, but then we're going to look at what is a similar joint higher up. That'll be the wrist. So we're going to do left ankle and right wrist. If you had left knee, for example, then you would go to your right elbow. If you had the left hip, then you would go to the right shoulder. Okay, so anything that's on the side of the body, we're going to the opposite side. If you're working with your spine, spine is a little bit more complicated, but let's say, for example, you've got upper back, then you will work with the front of the chest. So we will try and find what is the opposite bone to that. Middle, lower back is a little bit harder because there is nothing. So you will have to work maybe above and below. Okay, then I'm working left ankle. So we want to find the opposite direction, obviously, which is right. So here it gets interesting as well. We're going to be working with the hyoid bone, which is this free floating bone in your throat. And this is going to be slightly uncomfortable, but just do your best here. Because I'm working with the opposite side, so I'm doing left ankle, I'm going to shift the hyoid over to the right by pushing it sideways. And it feels weird, just bear with it. That's going to be the one thing. So we're going to be pushing the hyoid over to the side. Because I'm working left ankle, I'm going to be holding onto the right wrist. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do intermittent pressure on the wrist. I'm going to like literally squeeze it. If our wrist was on the bed, you would actually push down on it. But because we're going to be holding the hyoid, I'm going to squeeze in a few times. So we're going to be squeezing sort of once every second or so. And we do that for a while. And then we want to see Again, if you've got pain, it's nicer because you can actually monitor what's happening in the pain site, which is going to be the contralateral point. Okay, but if you've got no pain, just stick to what I'm doing here. Our emotion that we have is fear, and it's in relation to unwanted relationship. Fear in relation to unwanted relationship. We are working in present time, but remember that our emotions and mind transcends that time and space. So this emotion could relate back to a previous relationship that you had, or a previous fear that you had. Perhaps it's something that you've never had, and that's okay. Just see what it means for you. Fear in relation to unwanted relationship. Also remember, it does not have to be a relationship. It could be a work relationship. It could be a family relationship. It could be a friend's relationship. It could be anything, any form of relationship. So it does not have to be your current life partner or anything like that. So just dig around what that unwanted relationship is. What is the fear? How does that relate to your goal? And now we're going to do our correction. Okay, so I am working with the hyoid. I'm shifting the hyoid over to my right hand side, which again may be a little bit weird. This is my right hand. So I'm shifting the hyoid over to the right, and I'm taking my left hand over the wrist. I'm going to squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Think about fear. Think about unwanted relationships. How does that relate to your goal? Monitor what's happening in the left ankle. Okay, if you are working with your own pain site, then you would press the hyoid in the opposite direction. So you send it to the direction that is not painful. And if you're not sure, then you can always send me a message and we can find what that point is for you. Okay, let's release the ankle, release the hands, release the hyoid. Let's see, contralateral electrical. So I'm just doing my finger mode over here, electrical 3A. It's no longer showing. Fear, unwanted relationships no longer showing. So pendulum is clear. Okay, next, because this finishes our section in the present, now we're going to go into the past. The past is a non-specified age session, so it means it's a time in the past and you don't need to know when this time is. It's somewhere in the past. The emotion that we have is bliss, and it's in relation to pain. That's a little bit of a confusing one. Bliss in relation to pain. Yeah, you're going to have to see how that fits in with your goal, because bliss here could be mental, emotional, physical, on all levels, spiritual. Pain could be mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. Sometimes what pain can do is it does release hormones in the system that can, on some level, be pleasurable, even though it's not fun to have the pain. And sometimes people can get addicted to pain. Yeah, that's actually quite common. So think about bliss in relation to pain. Where is it in the past that you were perhaps addicted to pain? Because our correction here is body polarity. Body polarity indicates a switch as well. So it's like a flip. It is your magnets are pointing to north when they should be pointing to south, and vice versa. So your magnets have been flipped. Okay, so bliss here in relation to pain is you're addicted to pain, or you enjoy the pain, or you're receiving something from the pain, but it's actually not good for you. Okay, so pause the recording here if you need to just dig a little bit into that one, and then we're going to do our correction. So our correction here is working with the K27s again, like we've done earlier. But this time what we're doing is we're going to take our index fingers and middle fingers of both hands, and we're going to cross the fingers. So whatever works for you crossing wise. I've got middle fingers crossing over the index finger. It doesn't matter which ones you've got or which way you've got it, but cross the fingers. Then you're going to cross your arms over each other, and you're going to use your tips of your fingers on the K27s, so under the clavicle. It may be a little bit of a complicated one to get to, just get there slowly, and then you're going to rub in little circular motions Yeah. And think about bliss in relation to pain, obviously in relation to your goal. Rub, 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 rub. Then swap your hands around. Easiest thing to do is to release one hand and just put it underneath or on top and whatever, and then continue rubbing. Rub, 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 rub. Then swap your hands around. Rub, 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 rub. Keep your fingers crossed. Rub, 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 rub. Swap hands around. Rub, 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 rub. Let's do one more. Cross hands over. Rub, rub, rub. Okay. Electrical 12. Body polarity. We're doing our finger modes for that. Bliss in relation to pain. Good. Okay. And we've got one more correction to do. This is in the future. This is going 2 days into the future. According to our subconscious mind and body, there is no time or space. So time is irrelevant. Our consciousness works with time. So what happens is this subconscious mind is anticipating something that's going to come up 2 days from now that's going to knock your balance out of place. So what we're doing is we're just putting something in place as a little hurdle for that knockdown or unbalanced moment, so that we can get the body prepared for that and set up so that it's almost like fortified and ready to be able to handle it. So don't go looking for something happening 2 days from now. Most likely, if anything happens, you won't even realize it, or you won't pay any note to it, because we've balanced it now. But if it comes up, you may be aware and go, oh, I would have handled that differently and now I'm handling it in this way. But don't go look for this. The emotion that comes up here is weary, and it's in relation to hobbies. Weary in relation to hobbies. So weary is about feeling caution, perhaps feeling careful, guarded or something like that, or on alert, prudent. And so hobbies. Where are you feeling that hobbies are potentially not good for you, and where are you not sort of interacting with that? How does that relate to your goal? Okay, then our correction that we're working with here is called fixations, and fixations is when we are stuck on a thought, usually a negative thought, that it's like we can't get our eyes off that. It's not being able to let go of it, not being able to move away from that, which can cause a lot of stress. So our correction, and if you need help with this particular one, you can always ask someone to help you with it, but it should be quite doable on your own. The point is, on your upper back, it is just sort of in line with where your scapula is. So the tops of the wings that you have, your shoulder blades. And what you're going to do is we're just going to move up and down on the spinal vertebrae over there. And again, it's just about making the skin move. So it's not about a massage or anything like that. So you're going to be rubbing up and down over there. Think about weary in relation to hobbies. And a question that comes up in relation to this, because we're working here with a triple warmer meridian, is what paralyzes you? What paralyzes you? So you may want to also just think about what that would mean for you. What paralyzes you? Think about your goal. Think about weary in relation to hobbies. Okay, and then that's it. Easy peasy. That's what I like about kinesiology, that we actually do corrections really, really fast. 1.5 B for fixations. Pendulum is swinging, no, that's fine. Weary in relation to hobbies, we all good. Okay, and now we want to just lock all of this into place, and we're looking for you on a mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual level to be willing to benefit, be responsible, and accept changes on all levels. Now, 2 levels came up. that we needed to work with, and that is the subconscious level and the emotional level. So there's an emotion for each of these, and what you want to do is we're going to do eye rotations with them. Hopefully you know how to do eye rotations now, but just in case, we're starting with eyes looking forward, then you're going to look up as far as you can, go diagonal, side, diagonal, bottom, diagonal, side, diagonal, up, reverse, all the way down, and you want to do that with your eyes open. Okay. We're also going to be tapping behind the ears, on the round bone behind the ears. I can't tap you because I'm going to be tapping on the earphones. So you're going to take a ring finger and your thumb together and use index finger and middle finger to tap behind the ears. Okay, while you tap, you're going to do eye rotations and you're going to be working with our emotion. The first emotion is admirable. So you're going to say, I feel admirable, I feel admirable, I feel admirable, while you do your eye rotations all the way around and all the way around. Pause the recording here if you need to. I feel admirable, I feel admirable, I feel admirable. Then our next one is on the emotional level. We're working with the emotion of conforming. I feel conforming, I feel conforming, I feel conforming. So it's going to be index finger and middle finger, ring finger touching the thumb, tap behind the ears, eye rotation, stretching the eyes while you're saying, I feel conforming, I feel conforming, I feel conforming, I feel conforming. Again, pause the recording if you need to here. Okay, now we want to just check all of our changes to see if everything is working. So our first one was head forward, just up with your eyes. Eyes look up. Are you going around in circles? Now, arms straight out. Other hand's going to give you a little bit of a smack on the side, like a nice bump. Boom. Okay. Are you able to handle the shocks of life? And then look up with your eyes and off to the right. Can you see yourself achieve this goal? Okay, so all of those, they're fine with pendulum. They didn't give me anything there. Say, I cannot take charge of my life. Say to yourself, I can take charge of my life. We had the emotion of responsive in relation to turning point. We had the emotion of hope in relation to emotional expression. And then you had your goal. So think about your goal, whatever your goal may be. Okay. So pendulum gave me a nice, smooth, no issues. So that's good. I'm happy with that. And then we have some homework or support. Interesting homework or support here as well. The first piece, and again, I'm going to give you two. You can decide if you want to do both of them or only one. And it's entirely up to you which one you want to do. The first one is gua sha. Gua sha is the skin scraping using, it could be metal blades, it's like a blunt blade. You can use a spoon. You can use these crystal gua sha scraping tools, which is usually made out of rose quartz or something like that. And you can use that on your skin. You can use it anywhere in the body, really, but it's a really good way to detoxify. And the other piece of homework that goes with it is detoxification or detoxifying the skin. So you can do any technique for detoxifying the skin, whether it's a mud bath or Epsom salt bath or anything like that. But we need to try and find a way to detoxify the skin. The skin is your outer layer, your protective layer. This is your connection to the outside world. And we need to detoxify that in some way, shape, or form. So one more little thing to finish this session off, and that is taking index finger, middle finger, and you're going to tap on your forehead 2 or 3 times. Tap, tap. And that's it. And all that does is it releases the information that we had stored in there. So your goal has now been released. All of the information that we put in has now been released, and you can carry on with your everyday life back to normal. And again, if you do this particular cycle that we've done now with a different goal, your insights in relation to the emotions are going to be different. And you may find that perhaps with the contralateral joint, your pain that you feel in the body may be in a different location. That concludes our healing session for today, and I look forward to seeing you in our next session. I'm sending you lots of love and light. Take care.